Okay, so welcome back everybody. We're holding in Perek Lamed Gimel. We continue Perek Lamed Gimel on the page, actually in the original text, it's page Mem Beis. We're holding at the words V'nei sheyamik bazeh harbe, where one would profoundly ponder and meditate on this above mentioned. Much harbe means much, being mamik, and others profoundly invest his mind in this above mentioned. So yismach li b'v'sagol nafshei that he will rejoice. And again, let's just recap what the Alter Rebbe, what is the Yamik Bazeh, what is the Bazeh, the enormous energy which we receive, or the above mentioned Mishalim, the examples, the parables the Alter Rebbe gives in this very chapter, the two fundamental metaphors which demonstrate the notion of Hashem Echad, the oneness of Hashem, as we mentioned many times, the message of Hashem Echad, this which we proclaim and protest on a daily basis and a few times a day, that not that it's Hashem Echad, it's one God as opposed to two gods, etc. That's not the message of Hashem Echad. Hashem Echad means that everything is part of Hashem. There isn't anything else other than Hashem. Gemara says the Ches and the Dalet is part of the Aleph, which is this Zayin Erkim, the seven heavens and earth, and the Dalet Ruchot Olam, the four sides of the world. This is part of the Aleph. It's all part of the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is no separate entity. The message is that it's not, like we say, we use the term famously explained and picked up on the words in Parshas in Chumash Bereshis, in Parshas Vayera. I believe it's Parshas Vayera, Hashem, and Avram's protesting and the oneness of Hashem. The pasuk uses the word Vayikra Shav b'Shem Hashem Kel Olam, not Kel Ha-Olam, not the God is a God of the world, which right there, and then you're saying that the world is an entity on its own. It's a separate mitzvah, it's a separate davar, it's a yeshus, it's something, it's an entity, and if the world is an entity, so I'm an entity. and on top, or rather to say it clear, it's not that the world is a mitzvah, is an entity, and that Hashem is Kel over that Eilam, which means he's the only dominating force, the one who controls, the one who knows every detail, and he was the Melech HaElam, like we say in the Bracha, because that itself says that the Eilam is a mitzvah, it's a yesh, and again, if the Eilam is a yesh and I'm a yesh, on the outset, it's a disconnection of creation and creator, as opposed to you say Kel Eilam, not Kel HaElam, but Kel Eilam. The Eilam itself is part of the Hashem Echad. And that's what the Gemara says. Hashem Echad tells us that the Ches and the Dalet is part of the Aleph. That everything we see around us is just a way HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to express himself, to manifest via Eilam, but it's not a separate entity. And this is again based on what we say every single day before davening, that it's same Ata, in which you were the only entity before creation. Like it's a Hayyuhu Shmei, but there was no Eilam after HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. We say Atu Mishnev Eilam. There's not to think that there's two entities. There's God and creation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu dominates over creation, which right away says creation is a separate entity. It's separate from Creator. As much as you say God is in total charge and total control over creation, but right away you say there is another entity. So this is what we say. It's the same matter. There's no two entities. It's one entity. Before HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to manifest in Eilam, he was Hu Shmei. After he decided to manifest in Eilam, it's the same God. Ato, it's the same God. He decided to express himself via Eilam. The Ches and the Dalet is part of the Aleph. Kel Eilam says that the Eilam itself is the Kel, not Kel Ha-Eilam. So this is again the two important examples, parables, or metaphors that Alter Rebbe gave in the previous class, again in this very chapter. So Vishiyamik Bazeh, we're obviously not going to go over these important metaphors which demonstrate this above mentioned idea so clearly and so poetically and so profoundly, for that matter. Just that we could profoundly have a grasp and understanding on this notion of Hashem Echad. We can adequately appreciated via these metaphors. And again, we understand we're not going to go over them. We took us 2 classes to explain them thoroughly. And again, everybody's welcome to go back to the previous classes. You could put in the link box the word Tanya, or on the TanyaOnline.com website, which carries not only the class itself via the same host, again with always the profound recognition of koshertube.com, but together with that, it's a website which is constructed, built basically just solely for this class. And again, the two advantages: one, that you could always easily access the previous classes, as you can and will probably hopefully note, and then namely the classes, you could follow the text easily with an easy scroll bar. You can follow the text together with the class. So I encourage everybody to, if you want, generally to have take advantage of this, but namely in this, the reason why we're mentioning it over here, because in order to have an adequate appreciation, which we're going to learn today, the Alter Rebbe begins that he ponders profoundly in this, and this is again the two important metaphors, parables, which Alter Rebbe gives to demonstrate this notion, this message of Hashem Echad, precisely in this fashion. Hashem Echad being that everything is part of the Hashem, not that there is only one Hashem, but everything is part of Hashem. So again, I invite you to go, and you could take advantage of these last two classes to have an adequate appreciation of what Alter Rebbe is saying. So in the end of the day, when we know that this is the message of Hashem Echad, that there is no two entities, we are all part of Hashem Echad. So if the world is part of Hashem Echad, so I'm part of Hashem Echad. Part of Hashem Echad, we can understand how close, in essence, Hashem is to us. This is why the Alter Rebbe says, Yismach libe v'sagel nafshei. This brings enormous joy to the heart. Now, so again, when we will invest much in meditating, in pondering on this above mentioned, so this will cause Yismach libe v'sagel nafshei, that your heart will rejoice, your soul will elate, Abgilas v'raning b'cholei v'nefesh, with a elation and joy which will completely encompass the entire heart and the entire soul. And Alter Rebbe said, U'ma'id be'emunazo, and very much. Lashon ma'id. Generally, we know the Alter Rebbe was very precise. The precision of the Alter Rebbe's choice of words, and even letters in Tanya is known. We mentioned it a number of times. Alter Rebbe invested much time, and famously said, Alter Rebbe said he thought through the entire Tanya, every letter he wrote, and a number of stories which again demonstrate this idea. Especially you're dealing with such a grand mind like the Alter Rebbe, we could understand the enormous investment in every word and every letter, which the Alter Rebbe, when he documented, again, when he wrote the Tanya, every word and every letter is with precise calculation, and therefore the Alter Rebbe adds the ma'id, similar to the b'chol ma'idcha, which is used a few times when Torah wants to say, demonstrate something in absolute terms, or in deeper levels, and as a more in a determined with the expression. We have b'chol ma'idcha, or in the Torah sometimes Torah says ma'id. As many commentaries say, this ma'id is a very strong word on its own, especially when it's said twice. The Alter Rebbe adds here it's once, but nonetheless he says ma'id be'emunazo. The joy and elation will be on absolute terms, with an absolute energy, with this emunah, with this faith. In other words, in the Hashem Echad, saying that it's not that Hashem, there is a separate entity which is Eilam, and Hashem is Melech HaEilam, but the Eibishter ultimately, or Keil HaEilam, but no, it's Keil Eilam. So when we profoundly invest our minds, and we adequately understand this, and have a total appreciation, or a profound perception, or a comprehension, hands-on, this above mentioned, again with these precise mishalim, parables, and which the Alter Rebbe gives, which brings such clarity to this idea, to this notion of Hashem Echad, the way, again, the Alter Rebbe demonstrates it over here in general, particularly in this Pedic. This in itself tells us how close HaKadosh Baruch Hu is to us, which means we are part of that experience. We are part of the Hashem Echad. So, and the difference is enormous, because when you say that the Eilam is a separate entity and Hashem is Keil HaEilam, so even though he's a Meishel, he knows everything and he's in tune to every single detail, but because we say you're a separate entity, so on the outset there's a certain harchaka, there's a certain distance between you and Creator. When you say Keil HaEilam, that everything is about it, because Baruch Hu is part of the Eilam, so if he's part of the Eilam, he's part of me. And if he's part of me, could you think about any other closeness then knowing that the Eibishter is part of my whole reality. He is. In other words, we are part of this. So if it's part of this, it automatically sparks an enormous joy and elation, joy of heart and elation of soul. And again, it encompasses and it penetrates the entire heart and the entire soul. And it fills the entire heart, the entire soul. The moon is over this faith. It's so much. This is such a closeness, this notion of just understanding this, having an adequate appreciation of this above mentioned. It in itself sparks such a kirva, such a closeness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, it goes on, this is the entire mandate of man. And the ultimate purpose of creation of the Hashem creating all the supreme worlds and the inferior worlds till this Elam Hazat, to this again. This is the lowest. There's nothing lower than this for the physical world. Again, I'm saying this because I'm adding this, even though this is not in the text, but this is famous. Alter Rebbe himself brings it a number of times. The Tanya, when he says Elam is Tachteinim, this is the lowest Elam. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create all these supreme Elamis, and then the more inferior Elamis to come to and ultimately create this Elam, as it says in order that it means the whole objective of everything that Hashem created is in order that this world should come into being, because it says as it says, and we bring this quite a few times, the famous Medrash in Parshas Tanchuma, Parshas Nosei, Yisav HaKadosh Baruch Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted a dwelling place, not Ba'al not in the superior worlds, but in B'tachteinim, in this inferior world. And because this is Eilim is ein Tacht L'matei, there's nothing lower. And again, in level, we're not dealing with obviously height, the first story, the second, understandably, we're dealing with levels, a spiritual world, a supreme world, because it's in a higher level which godliness, and godliness like Olam Haba or Gan Eden, godliness is more obvious. Elokus is b'pshit, godliness is more obvious, or is very obvious. That's the whole ambiance in Gan Eden. The whole spirit in Gan Eden is elokus, is the God, the way God is revealed, and that's why the neshamas yeshvim v'nanim is v'ashchina. The neshama sitting, they have a no. It's not just like they're forcefully sitting in a Gani Yeshiva. It's a no, because because the Lakus is Bigoli, the Lakus is revealed. Yet, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create all this? Is in order that this world should come. In other words, he should be able to. He would create ultimately this world. In other words, every Eilam evolves from Eilam Shalamaylam Mehemenu, or Eilam, which a world which is higher than it, and eventually the godly energy is minimized. Again, which this in itself is the reason why the Eilam HaTachton is and becomes an Eilam HaTachton, an inferior world, because it's diffused of the elokus, of the godly presence, of the godly revelation of the world which comes before it. Which again, that's what makes the Eilam which before it an Eilam HaElyon. And this automatically means Eilam HaTachton. And Eibishter, one Eilam is evolved from another one. Eilam, like it's Machus Chamalchus Kol Eilam. Means many Eilamists. But ultimately, what was the purpose? That this world should be created. And that's where the Eibishter has a taiva, that the Eibishter has a desire. Nis'ava Kodesh Baruch Hu Yisleik Der B'Tachteinim. Again, this is a lashon in Parshas Nosei, in Medrash Tanchum and Parshas Nosei. Where did the Kodesh Baruch Hu want to have a desire? Dafka in this physical world. So he created all that in order that he should have in order for him to be able to have a pleasure of in this physical world, in this Eilam HaTachton Shein Tachten L'matei, and this lowly and physical world, which what makes it again a lower world, an inferior world, is because this world on the outset we understand that it's we understand why it's Eilam Tachten. It's a world that, despite it is all about it's all about an extension of God, yet on the surface it is so, godliness is so camouflaged, or more so, godliness is so concealed and covered up and obscured in this Eilam, as we all know it. We wake up in the morning, there's nothing within Eilam which is demonstrating and screaming Elokus, is demonstrating godliness. Quite on the contrary, not only doesn't demonstrate godliness, it covers up over the reality of godliness. And it's Mailam Master, it covers up and it conceals the Emes Hashem Leilam. And that's what makes it Eilam Hazeh Tachtin, which means the emes is that it's just an extension of God. But the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed this Eilam, in other words, conceal His presence in this Eilam, in a way that the Eilam is such a hell of a hester that not only it doesn't demonstrate its own true reality, but it covers up, it demonstrates anything else other than godliness. And again, that's the mandate that we mentioned last week. Again, we put this. We explained the very mandate of the Yid. This is the very mandate of the Yid, to be megala, of course, to reveal godliness to every mitzvah that he does, and every piece of Gemara, every piece of Torah that he learns. And again, he learns himself, and he learns with others. He does mitzvahs himself, he does mitzvahs with others. And the mitzvah itself, the point of the mitzvah is that we take the physical world and we make a bracha on it, we elevate it. We're megala lakus, like Avraham Avinu was megala lakus, went around and demonstrated the Hashem Echad. We do so firstly by convincing, we convince, in other words, bringing this emes Hashem Leilam to our conscious mind. We disseminate the message to others, but together with that, or primarily, we do this avodah ourselves. We take the dvarim gashim, we take the physical, which exists in Eilam Hazeh, we do mitzvah with it. The lulav and esrog is not just a branch or the asking of fruit. No, this is we reveal the godly reality within that lulav and esrog. It becomes a chetz shel kedusha. It becomes a godly item. Once we do a mitzvah, and it's similar to tefillin and sefer Torah. This is all components of this physical world. It comes from the tefillin, the mezuzah, the mezuzah, the tefillin, sefer Torah. The holiest object comes from the skin of an animal. And this is the significant majority of the mitzvahs which which we complete are associated with the Eilam Hazeh Gashmi, with this physical world. We take the physical and we elevate it to godly, to a lukus. In other words, we elevate it, we reveal the godly spark which exists within this Eilam Hazeh. In other words, the Yiddishkeit is not that we isolate ourselves in some mountaintop in meditation, trying to connect to the Almighty. Quite on the contrary, the point of Yiddishkeit is to be megala the emes Hashem la'elam, despite that the true reality of Elam is God, but yet nonetheless it's obscured, it's concealed. The Vayt of the Yid, the mandate of the Yid, to again bring this emes Hashem to his own conscious mind and to demonstrate it to others, and more so through doing the Hashem's mitzvahs, learning Hashem's Torah, doing Hashem's mitzvahs. And then by extension, as we explained a little more, I think the week before, the last week, or the class before that by extension, Kol Masechel Shem Shamayim, Kol Derchecha Da'eyu, these are not directly godly maisim, it's not a mitzvah, it's Masechot, it's you're doing, but you do it for the sake of heaven. In a sense, you're bringing the godly reality to a deeper level within Olam Hazeh, that clearly it's classified as Masechot, you're doing, but you do it L'Shem Shamayim, for a godly purpose, so you're bringing the godly reality into your eating and drinking and so on. Again, we quoted from the Rambam, it's not Darkei Hashem. It's a pasuk which says this is Derchecha, it's your ways. But Do'ehu, we bring God, the godly knowledge, knowing God in our ways, which in a sense, it's again by extension, but it's a deeper, more profound shlav, step in our mandate of revealing Hashem, again, not only in the mitzvahs, which are in the outset, Darkei Shamayim, Maaseh Shamayim, but more so, by extension, we bring the godly, the emes Hashem, but even the nitty-gritty of Eilam, and our eating and drinking and so on. Again, as the Rambam elaborates in his day, is the important focus of the Yid has to be not only when he does mitzvahs, he learns Torah, but even when he's involved in Masechot and Drechecha, does L'Shem Shamayim and Do'ehu, he finds God there as well. But and so this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everything. The purpose is not Elam Haba. The purpose is not Gan Eden. The purpose of everything is that this is, we don't understand. It's nisab, it's like a taiva. We don't understand something. The taiva is beyond the rational, even within ourselves when we want something forcefully. It is not something we can even rationalize with our taiva, but usually it's expressed in a negative. By us it's negative. Many times you have to control a taiva, but you think conceptually that you have taiva, because it's something which is beyond the rationale. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had this taiva that's beyond the rational. We cannot make sense of it, but this is a taiva that he had. This is what the Medrash Tanchum is telling us. That he wanted a dira, dwelling place, an abode in this very physical world, and that's where he has his pleasure. So everything when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, all the Eilam Yisrael, including Gan Eden, including Eilam Haba, ultimate that everything should evolve, and this world should be created, and that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted a dira. So when we say dira, we say the Eibishter wants a dira. So true, the right way we do it is through doing mitzvahs, learning Torah, and like we said, but ultimately, primarily, in order to have this sensation of elokus in our conscious mind, to feel the sensation of godliness in our conscious mind, that's also dira b'tachtenim, or that's primarily dira b'tachtenim. What means that dira b'tachtenim? That despite it's a tachtein, despite it's a world that on its own does not demonstrate in the lukus, comes a yidal, and neshama, and again the neshama invested in a body with all the bodily distractions and desires and inclinations, and many times they're not only bodily but they're animalistic and so on. As we all know, we have Yetzer Hara, we have an Nefesh Bahamis, that he can stop and he could ponder on this reality of Hashem Echad, and in his conscious mind, the energy of Hashem Echad could flow in his conscious mind, which means he could have an adequate appreciation of this message Hashem Echad. That is Dira B'Tachtenim. That is Dira B'Tachtenim, saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels at home. He feels at home means to say that despite I'm a combination of body and soul, or soul rather and body, yet I could come to that realization truly, not only again falsely, maybe being a little too bold, but I say falsely because sometimes, I'm a godly person and I think about God many times a day. Do we really think about God as something real or something abstract? And obviously the difference is enormous. Obviously it reflects how I'm truly observing Torah mitzvahs when nobody is around, and I'm careful and I'm scrupulous in every single detail, because it's not an abstract concept. It's here, it's now, it is. That is enormous, that a person, Beguf Gashmi, there was a neshama, as it's invested in the physical body, which exists in a physical world with all the halom investating, in other words, the cover-ups, the concealments, the challenges and obstacles, which are there just to camouflage or to obscure the emes Hashem, the godly reality, the Hashem Echad. And I could sit as a neshama beguf, as a physical person, and this message of Hashem Echad could flow through my conscious mind, and I feel, and I could attain, and I could live with, and I could rejoice with this Hashem Echad, or consequent to my conviction, and consequent to this message of Hashem Echad flowing with clarity in my physical mind, like I can appreciate everything else around me. Godliness is as real as anything else which I could tangibly touch, or maybe is tangible to me or palpable to me. Godliness is tangible and palpable to me. It means to say that I have a complete, a thorough comprehension and appreciation for this Hashem Echad, the way it's explained. Isn't that Dira B'Tachtenim? Means to say HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels at home, despite it's a Tachtein, which, again, the reason, by definition, a Tachtein is because it conceals and it covers up this message of Hashem Echad. But in this Tachtein, there is a Yidale, which has complete conviction of Hashem Echad. That is the combination of Hashem, has a Dira, an abode. What is in person's at home? At home is where he is, when a person is without any conforming to anything, without any reforming to, when a person steps out of his home, he's already, at any given, if you're in your office, your own workplace, walking your own street, the moment when a person steps out of his home, he adapted he adapted the environment which is out of his home. The moment he steps out of his home, obviously there are different levels. In his own block, he feels a little more at home. In his own workplace, especially, he's there for quite some time. He's adjusted himself to his work, especially in his own office. He also feels kind of at home, but yet you can never compare the person the way he's at home. He's at home, sits on his own couch, perhaps throws off his shoes, and this is me, where I am. This is where my core essence comes to complete light, comes to make expression, manifestation. And we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu Dira B'Tachtenim means to say the way he is for himself, by himself. And usually in this world does not demonstrate that. When a Yid could come to that realization, that is Dira B'Tachtenim. That is the Eibishter feeling comfortable that even in Tachtein, even in a world which camouflages on this message, or conceals, which obscures this message, a Yid could come to that recognition. That's Dira B'Tachtenim. That's fulfilling the ultimate mission, why and mandate, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the entire world, why he created me, why he created everything. That he wanted an abode in this physical world. When a Yid comes to this realization, isn't that the most profound expression of Dira B'Tachtenim. Hashem finds himself at home in a Tachtin, not in Gan Eden where he's revealed, not in Elam Haba where it's more obvious, apparent, but in this physical world, despite being a Tachtin, a Yid could come to that sense of clarity. Hashem Echad. There's no two entities. It's all part of the oneness of Hashem. Everything is God, and God is everything. That is enormous. And this is the Tachlis. This is the ultimate purpose why Hashem created everything. And again, the Kol Ha'adam, this is the reason why he created me, that I should come to that recognition. So certainly it's not enough that this energy, this Hashem Echad flows through my mind, but the whole purpose is that the whole entire world should become a Dira B'Tachtenim, the whole world should become a dwelling place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that everywhere you go should demonstrate, every part of the Eilam should demonstrate Hashem Echad, and therefore we go out and we demonstrate this message, particularly through Chassidus, which so much, again, even different than Musar, which is not denigrating the person, but more so introducing this message of Hashem Echad, and to add particularly Chassidus Chabad, which like no other Chassidus. It's not that I'm boasting about Chassidus Chabad, just Tamuru Kitev Hashem, study it, and you'll see how this message of Hashem Echad, nothing comes easy, but the information is here. And the point again why it's called Chassidus Chabad, because it's not some super transcendent message, or a message which could remain transcendent and abstract, but the whole point is it fills. Chabad is just not a name. Chabad is an acronym of Chacham Bina Das, because the punchline of the point of the objective, rather, the Alter Rebbe, was that these messages of Hashem Echad should permeate, should inculcate our cognizant faculty, cognitive faculties, our seichel, our intellect, that are chokhmah and bina das, which understands everything else. This is the way we grasp and have an understanding how my computer works and how this works, and how everything else that I have my hands on, I try to thoroughly understand it in order to have an adequate appreciation and to drive along it and to be driven by it in order to be successful. And so too the objective of the Alter Rebbe, and again of Chassidus Chabad, is that these godly messages should not only remain be'emunah, abstract, transcendent, but it should penetrate our chokhmah, our bina, and our das, our wisdom and understanding and knowledge. And need not to explain that if our chokhmah, bina, das, which understands and grasps anything else, has a profound adapts and has a profound grasp on these godly reality, it is a total transformation. It can bring, and it should bring, a total transformation in the whole mitzvah of the person. There's ava v'yira. It's a different type of ava. It's a profound love and profound yira. And his davening is profound. It's not the Yiddishkeit is not just expressed externally. Because the message of Hashem Echad is understood profoundly, so my expression of my midas, the midas of this yid is profound, is emes. It is permeated with a godly message, brenta fire of avo and yira, and so too ultimately manifests in his thought, in his speech and action. It's an under mensch, because it entered his cognitive faculties, and this is again. This becomes Dira B'Tachtenim. It doesn't remain abstract, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels very comfortable. The way he is, for himself, by himself, becomes manifest in Elam Hazatachten. It's Tachmeidedik. So this is the message, and we'll do another few lines over here. How great is the joy of a simple person, and even a lowly type of person. When he comes close, he has the ability to come close to even a physical king, a king of flesh and blood, which resides with him, allows him to host the melech, and he comes to live with him in his own home. Imagine a simple person gets a knock on his door in the middle of a Sunday night, and he opens the door, and the king, again, we don't have the adequate appreciation of the king today. More it's in the Western democracies, but yet even the prime minister would come over and knock on your door, and you open your door, the prime minister is here. It's something which is one would we could think about a greater appreciation, but more so in the yesteryears, the notion of a king was prevalent. We're not dealing with a dictator. We're talking about a emes and melech, a melech which led his people with justice and kirva and closeness and affection, and he was interested in them, not only in himself, but again, there was malachim like that, and a person gets a knock on his door, and the melech state, the melech is standing, and especially not stamahed, the regular person, but shfala nashim, somebody is a lowly person, and he wouldn't be, it was maybe the furthest imagination. No important person would knock on his door, and then all of a sudden the melech himself stands by his door, and not only that, he says, can I stay over for the night? Can I eat dinner with you? V'daritim, and he lives with him in the same home, base in his home. Could you imagine the greatest, the simcha, the joy and elation of this person, particularly, especially when there's a shval anashim, and as of a kalachemer, much more so the incates infinite. Again, this is a dealing with a melech basar adam, a mortal king, a king of flesh and blood. How much more so? There's no comparison. Lekirvas v'diras melech malcham lachem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of the closeness and the dira, which means that Hashem's interest in living and being part of our life, being part of us, not only Stam HaMelech, but Melech Malcham Lachem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, the King of all kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, blessed be He. Like it says, and you're dealing with Eibishter that on his own, you're dealing with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Melech Malcham HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who has the audacity, again it's based on a pasuk lesson, the audacity to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yet the same God, which is so transcendent and so great and so lofty and so exalted, that and you think about it, again, the non-comparison, or the no connection rather, with anybody and anything. Who has the, like the pasuk, who has the audacity to come close even to this grand God? Yet this grand God not only knocks on the door and tells us that you are part of me and I'm part of you. Could we think about a greater closeness than this? This is for this it was established to give praise and to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. Shebach is praise. Haidaya is also a type of praise, and it's also an expression of praise or submission, Haidah, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. Every morning, when we say fortunate is our lot, and then we go on, how sweet is again, Gerleinu is also an expression of our lot, similar to Chaninah. How beautiful is our inheritance. To say, just like man is rejoices and is elated by an inheritance which came to him, which he didn't have to toil. He finally hears that his great uncle passed away and he was a multi-billionaire. You didn't do anything for it, and all of a sudden they tell you this whole amount of money is yours. Or let's say here he says Yerusha, let's say a lottery, but here even a lottery, you went and you thought and you invested something. In this case, you just find out that you have it, you got an inheritance. You didn't lay amalba, you didn't toil, you didn't put any investment, and all of a sudden you get this call that this is all yours. You can imagine, again, we as neshamas begufim souls invested in bodies, so bodily appreciation becomes our appreciation to a great degree. It can, even though chas v'shalom, as long as it doesn't cross over to the world of sin, we should never appreciate as much as the body can have pleasure of it. But in this case, the idea of a Yerusha is a good thing. A Yerusha, someone gets a Yerusha of a lot of money, for example, if he didn't invest. You can imagine the joy. Cain v'yesme Cain, so too, and even more than laying cates, to no end. The difference is, there's no comparison. We ought to rejoice on this great inheritance, which our forefathers brought this clarity to us. The true oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that even in this physical world there's nothing else other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it doesn't matter where you are in this world, because nothing changes. If we say Hashem Echad, every part of Eilam is Hashem Echad. You could be in Flatbush, in Borough Park, in Crown Heights, in Toronto, in Chicago, or you could be in Timbuktu, in China, in any alleyway in China, doing your business deal. It's the same Hashem Echad. It's part of Hashem. When we say Hashem Echad, every part of Eilam is not only close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but is an extension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's part of the Aleph, which is Hashem, that again, even Ba'aretz Mitachas, in any part of this world, Eineid Mavad, in this physical world, Eineid Mavad, there's nothing else in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is the meaning of Dira B'Tachtenim. That not only just externally we do certain things and we scream Hashem Echad, we shakal Hashem Echad, it's the recognition, the conviction perception, that my mind, which has hands on to everything else, can adequately appreciate this Hashem Echad, like I understand everything else, like I understand my computer, I understand my car, I understand my business. The Hashem Echad penetrates and fills my Chochmah Bina Das, my mind, my wisdom, my understanding, my knowledge. Again, it penetrates, means to say, becomes part and parcel of me. That is the connection of the High Hashem and the way He is for Himself, by Himself, with the lowest, with the Tachting, She'ein Tachtin L'matei Mena, and that is Dira B'Tachtenim. Have a wonderful evening. We look forward to continuing.